I think opening night has several functions. First of all, it needs to be something festive. It needs to be something arousing, something that people go out whistling or at least are happy. But it also, I think, it has the purpose of kind of setting the path for, showing the path forward for what else is going to happen in the season. And I think our first program, if you look at it, we have our blockbuster there, which will be the great flourish and finish, which is Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. Then we have an unknown piece by a known composer, and that is Dvorak's Violin Concerto. And then we have the surprise piece, which is Concerto Romanesque by György Ligeti. And so I think these three ingredients you will find throughout the season, kind of the blockbuster, the unknown piece by a fairly known composer, and then something that you don't know nothing about. And I think if you have a combination of these, I think there's something for everybody, for the long-term concert goer, for someone for whom it's the first time, the first experience, and for the curious, and for the people who really just want to lay back and just enjoy.
So Tchaikovsky Fifth is one of the most popular symphonies ever. Some people may not know it, but what makes it so popular?
I think it is not so much the symphony itself that is popular. I think it's Tchaikovsky. If you know Tchaikovsky, no matter what it is, if you hear one of even his early symphonies, his Fourth Symphony, his piano concerto, his violin concerto, you kind of get the gist of what Tchaikovsky is about. And it's always going to be very emotional. Now, I think the Fifth Symphony, starting actually with the Fourth, it gets very personal. So he puts, like a true romantic, he puts himself in the center of attention and of the symphony, and he pours his heart out, also his heartache, but also his triumphs, and I think that's what the Fifth Symphony is about. So where it starts kind of more brooding and very much in the shadows, and then you have this beautiful horn solo in the second movement, which is just out of this world. I mean, just for that you need to go to the concert. And then, of course, you have this brilliant ending, which really maybe pays even homage to Beethoven, because you know it's coming, you know it's there, but it just goes on forever. And so it has just a great effect of finality and of celebration and exuberance. But there is a moment where he sets up the final portion of the movement, and he sets it up, and there's this big fermata. Everybody is like, BOOM! And then it goes on to the finale, and if you just wait a little bit too long as a conductor, I mean, you basically have to go on right away, otherwise people think, that's it, that was phenomenal. No, there's more phenomenal stuff coming after that. And so it is famous, but even if you warn your audience, this is going to happen. It still is like, I mean, but this is so typical Tchaikovsky that, he succeeds in grasping your attention and leading it to the climax. And so you need to kind of, and it happens also after the piano concerto, first movement or so, you just need to, because he bottles up the emotions in the audience. And so it needs to come out. And so I think as soon as there's a little bit release, it just comes out. But yes, there will be more. There will be more.
So Pärt, Golubov, and now Ligeti, famous 20th century composers that this orchestra has never played before. What do you think about this piece that you've programmed?
So we open our season with Ligeti. It's not necessarily a statement per se.
I was going to ask you if you made statements, because I know the answer to that one. So what statement are you trying to make by starting with this piece?
Ligeti is actually a famous composer. We all know his music, even though we may not think that we do. But you will know his music from, in lack of a better word, from the Kubrick years. If you know The Shining, if you know Eyes Wide Shut, you have heard his music. Now, this music is from his earlier years, and it reflects on his childhood experiences when he grew up in Romania, which was then Hungary, where folk musicians would go from house to house, dressed up in animal costumes and with animal hats, heads, and they would play this wild, raw folk music. And I think that made a really deep impression on him. And that's kind of what this piece is about. Is about folk music, but it's not like folk music in the civilized way, like, you know, or a streamlined way, like you would expect from Brahms in his Hungarian dances, or Dvorak in his Slavonian dances. This is like, you know, you cannot put folk music in a box. So this has a lot of meter change, and it's very raw, and it's very witty, and it has all these different colors, and sometimes it really feels like you're in the streets of Romania and just hear street musicians play. And so I find it riveting music. And then there's this moment in the third movement where you hear like almost like Alp horns from the Carpathian Mountains. So it is very picturesque music, and it's quite striking, and I think it's a great opener because you don't really know the music at all, and after that you'll be happy you know it.
Right. You seem to have a special affinity for the music of Dvorak. Is that true? And why do you think so?
I love Antonín Dvořák's music. I think that his aesthetic is all about beauty. So even if he gets dark or dramatic, it's always within the concept of an extraordinary beauty. And it's always lyrical. He has this, you know, it's so ingrained in him. And so no matter what it is, if it's his concertos, or if it's his Slavonic dances, or his chamber music, or his symphonies, it's all about lyricism, and about Slavonic folk music, and about beauty. And so this, we all know his cello concerto. But he wrote actually a beautiful piano concerto, and he wrote this gorgeous violin concerto. So it's kind of a black sheep among the violin concertos, and maybe because there are others. You know, there's the Tchaikovsky, there's the Sibelius, there's the Beethoven, and so. But I think there is definitely space for one more great violin concerto, and so I like it because it does show, you know, how Dvorak picks up on the Beethoven concept of the concerto as almost a symphonic piece, where there's a certain symphonic concept in it. And in many ways, what you will hear in the symphonies, you will hear in this concerto too, is that yes, it has a lot of drama in it. It has a very dramatic opening. It has this little Slavonic dance in there, and it has lyricism, and it has gorgeous melodies. And so I think it is neglected. And so I'm really happy that Paul Huang is gonna play with us, this phenomenal young violinist. And I think if you love your New World Symphony by Dvorak or his Slavonian dances, you will like this one too.